It's arguably the most famous scene in all of Star Wars. Luke Skywalker, frustrated with life, stares into the binary sunset, wishing, hoping, longing for a different future. But there's something here that even the most hardcore Star Wars fans don't talk about. This scene only works because there's something going on at a story structure level. And even though John Williams' score is epic, it's not the music. So what makes this not only the most emotional scene in all of Star Wars, but one of the greatest scenes in all of cinema? Hey filmmakers, it's Ryan. Welcome to the Filmmaking Notebook, where I teach you filmmaking one scene, shot, and character at a time. If you're new to this series, I'm hunting down the best 100 scenes in movie history and breaking them down from a filmmaking perspective. If you have scene recommendations, let me know. Today, we're looking at a scene that has seared itself into the memories of moviegoers for generations, and we're seeking the answer to this vital filmmaking question. Why exactly do you feel something deep within your soul when watching this scene? And as we just mentioned, most people would say it's the music, and while John Williams' epic score is definitely the icing on the cake, it's not the whole story by any means. The music helps guide your emotions, but that only works because there's something going on at a foundational level that's pushing you to care. To understand what the story is doing to your emotions, we have to take a step back and examine a bit of story theory. I don't think it's too bold a statement to say that pretty much every great story hinges on this one question. What exactly makes you root for the hero? Of the millions of stories in the world, why do you watch that movie, or read that book, or go see that play? The plot may pique our interest, but it's the characters who make us stay, who emotionally latch onto our souls and draw us deeper and deeper into the story.
I got it!
A common answer to this question then goes something like this. Well, the hero's gotta be likable. He needs a cool personality, or she needs to do something good at the very beginning. But then you think of characters like Thomas Shelby or Walter White. The very few good things they do are ridiculously overshadowed by a whole lot of bad. Which brings us to Luke Skywalker. He's certainly not bad, but for the entire first act, well, he just kind of whines a lot.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
The answer to why you root for the hero is something you actually might not have heard before. Your audience must identify with your hero. The best way to create identification is for a character to be misunderstood. Audiences love to get to know heroes intimately. We love to see actions no one else is watching, and then feel sudden umbrage when others who haven't shared our intimacy make false assumptions about them. That's a quote from possibly the best book on screenwriting I've ever read, The Secrets of Story by Matt Bird. But how does this apply to Luke Skywalker? Well, as we get to know Luke in the first few scenes, all the good things he does, like cleaning the droids and going after R2, aren't because he wants to, but because he has to.
You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done.
He knows that if he doesn't take his responsibilities seriously, not only will he still be stuck at home, but there will be consequences on top of that.
Boy, am I gonna get it.
But there are two precise moments that make us identify with Luke. The very first comes when he stumbles upon Princess Leia's message. The hologram represents more than just a pretty girl. It's only 8 words, but her cry for help speaks intimately to Luke's desperate longing for freedom, and for adventure, and for fighting against the evil empire. All the things bottled up inside him that he's had to bury deep down while toiling away on the farm. But peeking out of his whiny attitude is a spark, a desire for something more that starts resonating in us, the audience. We understand Luke's longing to do things that are outside our reach and control. We've started to identify with Luke through his struggles and his hopes that his aunt and uncle wave away and dismiss. We feel like we understand Luke because there's simply no one else in his life who does.
I told you to forget it.
And it's only after Uncle Owen thoroughly rejects Luke's need to step beyond the world of farm life
Looks like I'm going nowhere.
that we have possibly the most famous scene in all of Star Wars. Luke, looking wistfully, longingly, beyond the horizon, into the unknown, does something to our souls that transcends cinema. His facial expressions tell us more than words ever could, but even before that, his casual and somewhat aimless walk to the edge tells us that he's desperate to go somewhere else, to go anywhere, but he simply can't. The binary sunset is a view that Luke surely saw many, many times throughout his childhood, but for us, this miraculous phenomenon guides us into understanding that Luke's dreams and hopes travel far beyond mundane life and survival. They reflect a desire to live, fully and deeply, and we see that subtle defiance on Luke's face, holding this moment in for just a few seconds, and then he turns away, resigning himself to another year on the farm with only scraps of hope to cling to. And of course, John Williams' epic score is the heartbeat, the emotional fire that ties all this together, with its quiet strands briefly transforming into a majestic kind of longing, reflecting the dreams that most of us wouldn't dare to believe in. Then the return to reality. And because of copyright, I can't put that wonderful music into this video, but I know that you know that music by heart and can hear it over all these shots. But why does all this matter? Well, it's our identification with Luke and our understanding of his hopes and struggles and dreams and despair, all things that are deeply rooted in our own lives, that make this scene rise high amongst the greatest moments in all of cinema, because it's absurdly rare for a scene to speak to our souls so universally. For just a fraction of a moment, our hearts replace Luke's, and we uncover a glimpse of the deepest hidden longings in our own souls. In those few seconds, we've transcended identification with Luke, and we've become the hero. And at its heart, that's why Star Wars became a cinematic phenomenon and why it continues to inspire us more than 50 years later. And I don't mean to make any of this about me, but seeing Star Wars for the first time in 1997 changed my own life. Since then, I've had a desperate hunger to make movies and learn everything I can about how films are crafted. Because of that, if you're new to this channel, I'm doing something that sounds backwards. I don't want the filmmaking notebook to grow very large. I know that sounds weird. Instead, I'm seeking out those few who love movies and are holding on to a dream that maybe someday you can make your own movies. Or maybe you have a deep love for movies and learning how films are made. If either of those are you, I'd love it if you could comment with the year you first saw Star Wars. This will help YouTube find others like us. But I'm so glad that you're here, and until next time, get offline and go create something epic.